with a little bit of knowledge and the right outlook? Absolutely. Some folks may be nervous, even hesitant to take another trip down the aisle, but have no fear. Licensed psychologist Jill Thorne is here in our studio to share some secrets for building successful second marriages. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
I love your first suggestion, and that is start smart.
Yes. Well, first I want to say I'm a happily second time married mom and stepmom, and it is good news today that you can have a good second marriage, a great one, but it does take a little more thought and work than people might think to set the path, and that's the first thing. There are two disappointing parts to start out with. That there's heartbreak and loss that happens born of not being able to have that first marriage. Right. And then the statistics are against us all. 60% divorce rate with second marriages versus 40 to 50% for first marriages.
Wow, so it's even higher.
It is higher, yeah. And then even more so if the start isn't a clean break, and when affairs happen and people get married after that, it looks to be about a 75% divorce rate.
Wow.
So it's good to not start that way and to have a clean break and to know yourself really deeply. And so the points I was going to maybe outline a little are to start smart with a clean break, with a healthy self-esteem, and then a good start as a couple.
So make sure you're a healthy you before you try to throw yourself into another relationship.
Exactly.
Kind of worked through what went wrong, those sorts of things.
Yeah, don't be too desperate or lonely, but for sure you hit the nail on the head that you have to understand what happened in that first relationship. It's amazing how many people don't know and don't really ever try to get closure on what happened. And so whether it was a disillusionment or disenchantment on one person's part and they just decided to walk away, or maybe the other person did that and you were left, or a combination of the two, you have to get a sense of, was it partly how you chose this person, or was there something in your interactions that could be changed so you feel empowered and not as scared when the second time happens and you're afraid and start to feel like, oh no, could it happen again? And then as a couple too, you need to take your time getting to know each other and go about 2 years at least as recommended post-divorce before you remarry, or then the divorce rates are higher for that second marriage.
So really make sure that you know this person and you're not just jumping into something else.
Absolutely. And know their whole family, know the children and the story of what happened. If you can, even start to develop and get to know a little bit of the ex if they're in the picture. Most remarriages do involve children and a former partner of some kind. And so that's something we'll touch on here in a moment.
Very good. All right. Setting boundaries.
Yes. So the other tip, once you're together, it really is important to think about what your specific role is. You're not the mom of the children if you're the stepmom, and your partner isn't necessarily the dad if there's already children from your first marriage. So be very clear and comfortable, slowly developing loving relationships, blending together, like weaving artwork with thought and being particular. As a couple also, it's important to know together that it's going to take more work to connect. There's so many tensions and people that you have to manage your feelings about.
Kids and everybody has opinions and everybody.
Yes, and you're pulled different ways. And so there is a good book I wanted to recommend called Saving Your Second Marriage Before It Starts by Hendricks. And he writes, has lots of quizzes and things for people to do beforehand, but it's good once you're married too, to review some of that and arm yourself too with self-help books about step families. That helped me a lot to think about what potential difficult tension situations might come up. And then I was more able, I think, to handle it with grace and kindness and politeness and aware of everybody's feelings. Yeah.
Because it's not always, hopefully it's a smooth transition for everyone, but that's not always the case.
Yeah, there are situations where somebody is so conflictual and combative, maybe really hating the new partner, that you just have to do a lot of avoidance. But for the most part, hopefully people can blend and have peace and kindness amongst each other for the children and the family as a whole.
Very good. Is that part of the just showing compassion and kind of your perspective on...
Yeah. If you love your partner and they have children, then you're going to try as much as you can to be loving to their children, which also means then you're loving to the former partner too, because that's their other parent. So always speaking with kindness, reaching out when you can. Great little ideas are like sitting next to each other at functions where you're maybe observing the children doing something. If you can,
you're at a basketball
do
game.
Yeah. Greet each other.
Four of you sit together and just kind of show up.
Yes.
Solid front.
That's right. And with enough of that, it could even lead to becoming genuine friends, which we have seen some in our lives. A little bit of a genuine friendship developing where you can choose to spend time together, have dinner at each other's houses. It does not always go that way, but when you're really focused on separating out past hurts and just making your future brighter, because you're probably going to have a lifetime of running into folks through different marriages and grandchildren and all that.
Exactly, weddings and it doesn't stop when they're 18.
Right.
Last thing, and we've got to be quick, but building in fun to family activities.
Yeah, so every time you're thinking about blending families and being kind and loving, just think about the good times that you can have and have special events maybe that you do in rituals where you're always inclusive, thinking about the other person's perspective that might feel left out. And so having good time where the biological parent and the biological child have their own special moments can also help that. Let them have that alone time. We do daddy-daughter dates regularly so that can happen. Right. But then also developing that relationship personally, one-on-one. So.
Great advice today. Thank you so much. We appreciate you being here.
David, how long have we been friends? We're not friends. But if we teamed up, it could bring your career to the next level. Well, I have a star on the